We are extremely excited to announce our new presenting sponsor, Hard Rock Bet. Everyone knows and loves their hotels and casinos, but now you can use the top-rated Hard Rock Bet sportsbook to place all your NFL bets this season. Hard Rock Bet is the only legal sportsbook in the state of Florida and is also available in Arizona, Ohio, New Jersey, Indiana, Tennessee, Virginia, Illinois, and Colorado, with more states to come. You can also play on Hard Rock Bet's online casino if you are in New Jersey. As we gear up for the NFL season, sign up for Hard Rock Bet and make a $5 bet, and you'll get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Head over to Hard Rock Bet, sign up, and make your first deposit today. What is going on, everybody? Just wrapped up week one. And I got to tell you, I didn't see that coming. I might have been tweeting, talking to my wife, like most people. This JJ McCarthy guy, he's done. He's in trouble. This is never going to work. But before we talk about any football, you got to subscribe to the page. We need a lot of you guys watching this are not subscribed. Make sure you subscribe, like, get involved in the comments. This is a podcast, so subscribe wherever you may listen, Apple, Spotify. We got you covered. 3 and Out with me, John Middlekauff. Appreciate everyone. We big football season ahead. But obviously there's a lot of football. And the Minnesota Vikings, who are getting worked, and JJ McCarthy, complete meltdown, win the game 27-24. I can't even imagine everyone leaving Soldier Field tonight. The devastation from Bears fans who had to feel, halfway through the game, we were going to cruise to this victory. But we'll dive into all the different angles, from JJ to Caleb to the coaching staffs. A couple other things. A story came out on Sunday, I don't think I've touched on, that the Eagles were aggressively pursuing Micah Parsons and not only offered a trade, but were prepared to trade for him. Obviously, Jerry was probably never going to trade him to Philly, but then Howie today makes a trade. The Eagles are just on a different level. The Giants stand by their man. And so a couple thoughts on some broadcasting stuff this weekend. Tom Brady, I think the arrow's pointing up a little bit. But before we dive into any football, I got to tell you about my friends, my partners, and the official ticketing app of this podcast, GameTime. They're the best in the business. I've been using them for a long, long time. And I've used every single ticketing app. So if you want to go to one of these football games, if you want to go to a college game, if you want to go to a World Series game, it's not that far away. Any event. You live in New York, you want to go to the Ryder Cup, highly recommend it, especially on like Friday. Any event, easy to use. Download that app. You can search by the venue. You can search by the stadium. You can search by an artist if you want to go to a concert or a comedy show. So here's the thing. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use the code JOHN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code JOHN for $20 off. Download the GameTime app today. Last-minute tickets. Lowest prices guaranteed. Let's dive into what we just witnessed. And I've been thinking a lot about this because forever, I would say conventional wisdom with people that talk about football, with people that talk about draft prospects and, the draft order and drafting quarterbacks, is how lucky it is for quarterbacks to go to good teams, i.e. Patrick Mahomes, when the Chiefs traded up to get him, and he eventually replaced Alex Smith. And I said, yeah, in theory, it makes a lot of sense, but you better be good right away. Because we have a couple recent examples of guys getting acquired, drafted high by teams, the 49ers with Super Bowl expectations, and the Colts with playoff expectations. And your leash is way smaller than the guys that get drafted on god-awful teams. Take Bryce Young, for example. He showed some signs of life at the end of last season. but he just had a horrendous game year 3. You know what? No one saw it. It actually doesn't matter. Now, is he going to be their quarterback in 3 years? I wouldn't feel confident about saying that. But he's going to get this year. They play in a market. They play for a team that's not winning many games. People aren't paying attention. But when Trey Lance was thrust into the starting lineup, it was like, you better be good. And right away, some of the star players were like, I don't see it. Last year, Anthony Richardson, all the guys were like, we are out. And that's what it felt like watching JJ McCarthy today. It's like, this is a roster and a franchise that won 14 games last year, was 60 minutes away from being the number 1 seed. Who, I don't know if they have Super Bowl aspirations with a first-time starter at quarterback, but at minimum, competing for the division and be playing in January. Anything less than a playoff game, even if it is on the road as a wild card team, would be an awful pill to swallow for everyone in Minnesota, given that they clearly have one of the best rosters in the NFL. And obviously, an excellent head coach who's the offensive play caller and a dominant defensive coordinator. And just a winning culture. This franchise, since Kevin O'Connell has been there, we've lost the playoff games, 2 of them as favorites, but they have been an excellent regular season team. And you're watching that first half and you're going, this might not work. Not because you're just going, this guy physically can't play, even though he looked definitely overwhelmed and he was swimming on the road. Honestly, it had some Arch Manning at Ohio State feels. It's like, this is way too big for this guy. He's melting down. And then he throws the pick 6, and you start thinking, is this guy going to make it to Halloween? Do they need to get on the phone and call Atlanta to get Kirk Cousins back? What are they going to do? How can they look Justin Jefferson in the face? How can they look all the guys on defense in the face? How can they ask their star left tackle to battle back from rehabilitating his, torn knee for this? And then he flipped a switch. And you went, what did I just witness? And one thing, I would say 2 things we don't talk enough about when it comes to quarterbacks: mental toughness and obviously physical toughness. And the mental toughness, one, this guy started for Harbaugh for a couple years, and it's why I had reservations about the player. Because I went, one, he played at Michigan, which the majority of teams they played, they had a huge talent advantage. He was on a roster with basically every guy, starter on offense, starter on defense, and most of the backups were NFL players. He lost 1 game in college, and it was a freak game to TCU and Sonny Dykes, which they should have been in the national championship game back-to-back games. Now, they probably would have lost to that Georgia team in the national championship, but this guy's not used to losing. And my reservation was the way they played in college, a run-first coach. I don't know how this is going to mesh with Minnesota and a coach that wants to throw the ball. Now, he only had 20 attempts tonight, and through early in the game, it was not pretty at all. But by the end of the game, you saw him drive passes, you saw him touch passes, you saw him manipulate the pocket, you saw him stand in the pocket. Obviously, he ran for a touchdown. And I was thinking about this, like, if you get hired out of college at Chase Bank or Goldman Sachs, and the first thing they do is say, hey, you're going to go meet with Warren Buffett or Jeff Bezos tonight or tomorrow, our biggest clients. That'd be asking them a lot. And that's kind of what it feels like when you get drafted to a team that has 13, 14, 15 win expectations. There is no margin for error. Everyone is watching your games. Most of us out of college aren't asked to do much. Get the shitty assignments. That is planned for the Carolina Panthers. And you watch tonight on the road in Chicago, the place is buzzing, the defense is flying around. You're like, listen, it's only 1 game, it's on the road, but this is going to be hard to overcome. They threw the kitchen sink at him, and he kind of failed. And then the fourth quarter happened. They were down 17-6. They won 27-24, and he accounted for 3 touchdowns. So that was, I don't know, as exhilarating of a turnaround as I can ever remember for a young player. And if you're a Minnesota Viking fan right now, you get Atlanta at home this upcoming week on Sunday Night Football, you're feeling pretty good about yourself. Because that young guy, and Troy Aikman said this, showed a lot of moxie, a lot of toughness. And the thing I'll never forget about the Trey Lance San Francisco experience was how their star core didn't believe in the guy. And when you don't have your Pro Bowl, all-pro level guys believing in your quarterback, it's over before it even starts. We saw that the Colts don't have as many high-end guys, but it was clear they turned on him as well. And tonight you're thinking like, God, is Jefferson going to believe here? Are all the guys on defense going to believe? Is Jordan Addison, when he comes back, this is not going to work? Is Darisaw going, what am I rehabbing for? And now in the locker room, I can imagine when these videos go viral, they're having him break it down. They're going nuts. They're giving him the game ball. There is belief. There is nothing more powerful in this world than hope. It is just a powerful driver for us all at any point in time in our life. And I think that hope and that belief that that team showed looking at their quarterback, how fired up their head coach is, there is no disputing this. Their coaching staff in Minnesota is excellent. Now, I think Kevin can get a little pass happy, though tonight, I thought he did a good job. And one thing that he settled JJ down a little bit, he handed the ball to Jordan Mason, who somehow is on their team because the 49ers wanted to save a couple $1 million. That guy's a good running back. Aaron Jones, excellent pass-catching running back out of the backfield. You can throw him wheel routes till the cows come home. And a couple times I thought in the playoffs, specifically last year in the Lions game and the Rams game, I thought Kevin got a little pass happy. And listen, we all have our philosophical beliefs when it comes to football, if we're an offensive guy or a defensive guy. Kevin likes to pass. But I thought tonight he did a really good job of just balancing it a little bit. And once JJ got his confidence, throw it to 18, throw it to 18, throw it to 18. And obviously that's where the floodgates open when he hit him on the touchdown. And, Brian Flores is elite at what he does. That defense, this was the question mark with the team. I looked as JJ was melting down, and I was like, this is why I think his leash is going to be small. Through the first 4 games last year, Sam Darnold had thrown 12 touchdowns. Minnesota came out of the gates so hot, obviously from a win-loss standpoint, but from an offensive standpoint. He threw 2 touchdowns in the first 2 games, and then it was 4 and 3. He was slinging that pill. It was just fireworks. So the expectations, which I understand letting him go, was to use those resources and buy other players. Totally get it. But then the pressure even, amplifies on JJ. And he answered the bell. For a guy that did not even throw for 150 yards, I can't tell you how impressed I am. Because the one thing when you're scouting players, we can all see JJ can run around. Look at Caleb. There's no disputing. Honestly, he's even a better athlete than I thought. You watch him sling that thing, he's throwing 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. My mom can see the physical gifts. How about the mental gifts? How about the intangibles? What's it like when shit's hitting the fan? I've referenced this a couple times, the Athletic article on quarterbacks. And the premise of it was something Kevin O'Connell said, that organizations fail quarterbacks, not the other way around, that quarterbacks fail organizations. And Bill Parcells was quoted in there saying, don't evaluate quarterbacks when they throw 3 touchdowns and win. Everyone acts the same. Evaluate them when things are crumbling around them, when they throw a pick 6, when they look like shit. How do they act? How do they carry themselves? And we got a front row seat watching JJ McCarthy because he throws that pick 6 to the practice squad guy who honestly looked pretty 6'4" corner from Oregon State. Fascinating player. Awful that he ends up hurting his knee late in the game, but has the pick 6. He had gone against Justin Jefferson last year in practice every single day when he was on the Minnesota Vikings. To have that moment in Chicago, what a cool just thing to happen to that guy's career. And it felt like he was ruining JJ's moment. And JJ was melting down in front of us all. And then that fourth quarter happened, and he turned into Sam Darnold or Kirk Cousins, the guys that Kevin O'Connell has won a ton of games with. So congrats to JJ McCarthy. That was extremely impressive. Now on and listen, Minnesota, one thing I wrote down is I was like, Green Bay's watching this game when the Bears looked okay. They weren't doing anything on offense. Their defense looked good, and Minnesota looked terrible. I'm like, what a win for the Green Bay Packers. You got the Lions with a ton of issues. You got the Bears offense can't do anything. You got Minnesota that might have a quarterback problem. I'm texting our group text thinking Green Bay's going to win this division by 3 or 4 games. And now I feel I still like Green Bay, but hey, listen, Minnesota is loaded. And we're going to find Chicago, they go to Detroit this week, who clearly is going to be really, really motivated. Let's touch on Caleb. I want to say this as nice as I can. Like I mentioned, physically gifted. He made some plays tonight with his legs faster than I even thought. No one has ever questioned his arm. He spins it exactly like you want it. But we don't pay you to just run around or just to spin it into the ground. Pay you to play quarterback. That's why he was drafted number 1 overall. And as this game went, I don't know if I see it. And early on in the game, I think people were giving him a ton of credit. He's 9 for his first 9. Well, 8 of those were dump offs. He was dinking and dunking. And even Troy kind of mentioned early in the game, it's like, I think there were a couple passes there. He didn't let it rip. Now, new offense, trying to play under control. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. You don't want to make a mistake early. New coach who's, clearly, as Joe Buck said, wound tight over there. The offense is baby. You're just trying to move the ball down the field and get your offense going in a positive direction. As the game went on, though, I don't feel he's a rhythm player. I don't feel he's a natural in-the-pocket play quarterback player. To me, the way he would have any success in the NFL, because for a long time in this game, it was 17-6. The 7 points after he ran for the first touchdown on the first drive of the game came from the pick six. The offense was doing nothing. It was punt, 3 and out, 3 and out. It was ugly. They couldn't move the ball. And I watch Caleb Williams and I go, I don't see the mesh with Ben Johnson. I really don't. I don't see a guy in the pocket that has a great feel for the subtle movements. He's natural at I got to take off. And because of his physical gifts, he's really fast. He can move and he can throw on the run. A lot like Russell Wilson back in the day with Seattle. He has those attributes. But sitting in the pocket, countless throws over the middle of the field throughout the game, he missed. Even the last pass on that final drive where he hits Komet, which kind of looked like it hit the ground, Komet made an incredible effort, and isn't Cole 6'4", 6'5", to one-hand it above him? He's not a naturally accurate player over the middle when he has to play in rhythm. Also on that drive, what did he do? He missed DJ Moore wide open in the corner. So as the game went on, and we're not scripted anymore, and I can't just dink and dunk my way down the field, I have to make some throws, I didn't see it. Now, I'm not acting like the guy's some scrub. There's definitely stuff there. But this is what we've talked about since the beginning with Ben Johnson. Their styles are opposite of each other. As the game went on, Kevin O'Connell, he's like, this is what I've been looking for. This is, Kirk Cousins couldn't move. Sam, just could freak out a little bit in the pocket. And as the game went on, it's like, that's it. That's the guy we wanted. Now, short sample size, only the fourth quarter. Bears were gassed. I mean, he's got a long way to go. It's a long season. But if you're Kevin O'Connell, when you crack that cocktail or beer on that flight home as you're watching the All-22, you're going to have a smile ear to ear. You saw Ben Johnson look like he was seeing ghosts or something. What is happening here? What is going on with my offense? We got Loveland, who's a top 10 pick. We got Cole Kmet, who was a top 100 pick, who's got a second contract. We got Rome Odunze, who's the 9th pick of the draft. We got DJ Moore, who was essentially, we traded, instead of getting an extra first-round pick from Carolina, we got DJ Moore. We accumulated all these offensive linemen, and our offense fucking blows. Now, I get it, first real game, but man, as the game went on, it felt like they had no shot. And Caleb kind of gets out of rhythm, and the whole thing kind of falls apart. So the Bears defense is going to be solid. Dennis Allen's a good defensive coordinator. There's no disputing the offensive weapons on the Bears, but something's just off. Now, you can say, hey, it's the same thing. This happens to the Bears all the time. The main difference between these two teams is JJ McCarthy is Kevin O'Connell's guy. And in pro sports, that really matters, especially when it comes to the NFL and it draft picks, specifically quarterbacks. That is my guy. I will run through a wall and do anything for him. You see it all over the league, right? Obviously, when people have success, Andy and Patrick Mahomes. But even through the struggles of 24 hours ago in Denver, Bo Nix is Sean Payton's guy. Brock Purdy is Kyle Shanahan's guy. Kevin O'Connell and JJ McCarthy are tied and connected at the hip. No different than Adam Peters and Dan Quinn with Jaden Daniels. Ben Johnson didn't draft this guy. And listen, because I didn't subscribe to the Substack, I couldn't read the last article of the 3-part series. But you lose games, the offense sputters. This is when you get problems. And the other thing is, internally in the locker room, the defensive guys got to be going, we played our ass off. Our all-pro corner didn't even play tonight, and we were dominating this game. We were making this guy look like he should have been a practice squad quarterback. We were kicking his ass. And instead of being up 17-6, if we had a little more juice on the offensive side of the ball, maybe we're up 28-6. And we're up so much that even if JJ is mentally tough and Kevin O'Connell is an exceptional coach, they don't have enough firepower to come back. It's not even possible. But because the offense did nothing, they were still in the game. And I saw tonight one team with a brand new quarterback. Caleb has all those starts last year, right? So early in the game, you saw JJ deer in the headlights. First NFL start on the road, Chicago. Like, not an easy spot. Caleb has 17 starts last season, right? So he was much more calm, much more in control. But then the game goes, and the script's thrown out the window. You're calling plays, you're audibling. Flores is, dialing up different blitzes, different pressures. They got guys moving all over. And it's like, I don't know what's going on. And that's Chicago, of just like, this is something in a monitor. I'm not jumping off this hill because I think it's got an opportunity to get weird. And it's got an opportunity to get weird this weekend. Going back into Detroit, who just got curb stomped by the Green Bay Packers. Thoroughly embarrassed. I haven't had a chance to watch any of Dan Campbell's press conferences, but I can imagine after the game on Sunday, it was pretty hot. He's going to be really motivated. We've seen a lot of clips over the years of like the hard knock stuff behind the scenes of him just in front of the team. This is going to be a big moment for him, especially with Ben Johnson coming back. So the Bears better be really careful. Before you blink, it could be 0-2. So massive, massive win for Minnesota. Massive gut check for JJ McCarthy. And if you're a Vikings fan, I would be sleeping pretty well. And if I'm a Bears fan, I go, what the hell, man? Can we ever win? Why does this happen to? No matter how good our players are, no matter how sexy the start of our games are, no matter how fun that national anthem in the beginning of the game was, we're dominating our divisional opponent. When the clock hits 00, we lose. They win. Speaking about a guy that just wins, I think most people in life, it's much easier to go no and just say no and take the conservative route. Like, yeah, I'm not going to ask her out. She'll probably say no. I'm not going to call this guy. He probably won't, be interested in what I'm selling. It's like I could take this job, but I got to move. And it's like I like my life. I like my gig now. It's a great opportunity. Most human beings just naturally take the easy route / convince themselves to go the conservative way. It's human nature. I'm guilty of this too. We all are. There is a small percentage of people that 100% never think that way. And their first reaction is always like, why not? Why can't we do it? Let's do it. How can we do it? What do we have to do to get there? And I had a front row seat for 2 years. When I got hired from Fresno State to the Philadelphia Eagles, I had never been around a guy like Howie Roseman. Never in my 25 years of life to that point in time. The aggressive nature, just how it was 100 miles an hour every moment we were in the office. And it was an incredible learning experience for me. I felt like I was drinking out of a fire hose. Because even when I was around other football people, previous places, it was like, we're not going to get that guy. We don't need to waste time doing that. That was never tolerated in Philadelphia. It was a mentality of looking under at minimum every rock. And even once you pull up that rock and look under, look on the other side as well. And Jay Glazer came out on Fox's morning show and gave a report. Maybe it was out there, but I hadn't seen it, that said that Howie Roseman aggressively tried to trade for Micah Parsons and actually had a better offer than the Green Bay Packers. Now, obviously, Jerry Jones, would probably fold the franchise before he was going to trade Micah Parsons to the Eagles. Now, I do think if Howie would have added like Three first round picks, there comes to a point where, yeah, your fans are going to hate you. Everyone's going to want you to sell the team and hate you until the day you die. But the deal, if you were going to be willing to trade him, you would have to trade him. But, the deal was close enough that you traded him to the Green Bay Packers. And then today, I look up and how he's traded for a running back just out of the blue because Tank Bigsby, the running back in Jacksonville, obviously ETN, had a big first game for Liam Cohen, and they got a backup from Virginia Tech. It feels like he's just not in the mix. So I was like, yeah, we'll give a fifth and a sixth round pick for a guy that was drafted in the third round a couple years ago. So does this guy ever stop doing deals? The NFL, this is not baseball where it's like, yeah, the Dodgers have $800 million. The Mets can give Juan Soto $3 billion, right? The Yankees, like, oh, they just signed another guy for $500 million. There is a group of 6 or 7 teams that can do that, and no one else has a shot. Even in basketball, the Clippers, the Lakers, the Warriors, they can sign guys to go over thresholds to then pay luxury tax, the Knicks, that other teams cannot. So it's not really equal team to team. Yet in football, if Mike Brown wanted to trade 2 first round picks and give Micah Parsons the 800 or the $188 million, he could have done that. He chose not to. And it does feel like there are a lot of teams out here. And listen, I'm not saying that Howie's right on every deal he makes. No one can be. But why is he involved in every single deal in all these other teams, especially in the AFC, where it's pretty equal if you have one of the top 6 or 7 quarterbacks and they're never involved? They're never, ever involved. I understand if you don't have a quarterback situated yet, right, to blow the first round picks, totally. But if you're the Bengals, well, Hendrickson's going to walk next year. You just draft Shamar Stewart. We have no clue if the guy can play. Why weren't you heavily involved? Of course, that's not how they operate because they operate like the guy, oh, we don't need to do that. Oh, we'll just need the picks. We'll figure it out later. Maybe we can find a guy on the scrap heap in October. How he's like, oh, Micah's not available. Do you think Myles Garrett is? And you have, obviously, he can't do this solo. He needs the owner to sign off on this. But the Eagles are operating at such an advantage right now because their general manager, and again, I've seen it firsthand, is as aggressive of a human being as I'll ever be around my entire life, and an owner that greenlights these moves from a financial standpoint. And the reason it doesn't get out, because clearly, even if the Cowboys were willing to negotiate, they probably wanted, they wanted to run stuffing guys. So I'm sure they asked for like Jordan Davis. And if you're Howie, you don't want that out there. But if they would have played ball, Jordan Davis 2 ones and a 3 would have been there, and Micah Parsons would have been an Eagle. And I think we just need to stop being shocked. Like, he is making moves and doing stuff that half these teams that should be way more involved just simply aren't. And it's why I give the Packers credit. Because if the Eagles are aggressively calling, you better be aggressively calling. Because you just played them in a playoff game in round 1 and kind of got worked. So if you want to take this next step, and this is why they did it, so props to Gudikins. And the other thing Jay Glazer said is no one in the AFC was even interested. Like, hey, Buffalo, I just watched your defense. What the fuck was that? Thank God you have Josh Allen, who's basically like LeBron James meets Steph Curry in football right now. Because defensively, you could use some help. And I've supported Jerry for making the trade, but I also support Green Bay for pulling the trigger. Because especially in 2025, like, they just traded Kenny Clark straight up for Micah Parsons. Like, that's the deal. Those first round picks aren't relevant until next year. So, man, I mean, the Eagles is just nonstop. What a game this weekend. Kansas City hosting the Eagles. The Chiefs are an underdog at home. That's pretty crazy to me. Couple more things. I think the Giants are in a weird spot. The consumer, the fan. I know these GMs and executives and owners just hate when they dictate the terms. It's like, we're just starting them because the fans are calling into WFAN. They're bitching and moaning online. It's just nonstop. And sometimes it's wrong, right? Usually the favorite player on any bad team is the backup quarterback. But in this situation, like, people have a lot of evidence with Russell Wilson. They've been watching the guy for almost a decade and a half. This isn't just some random player. Like, they have seen the decline as Colin and I talked about it. It's got to be one of the more precipitous drop offs in the history of the league. He went from being like an all pro, Pro Bowl level playmaking high end guy to being kind of a scrub really, really quick. And it's not all his fault why the Giants just lost to the Commanders. But there's just, when you watch him play, there's no urgency to the way he moves anymore because he's fallen off a cliff. His playmaking is basically zero. And if we're going to lose and just get worked week in, week out, and let's say the Cowboys beat him by 10 points, why are we watching this guy? And this isn't basketball or baseball where it's like, well, we got 70 more games. Even if we give it 10 more games, he's going to get 60 games. In baseball, he's going to end up playing 120 games. There are only 17 of these things. And Daboll's in this spot where are they going to keep you? Because if you just watch that first game, even if you like the guy and you think, listen, I think he's going to be right on Jaxson Dart as time goes, you just lose enough games 21-6. Your team looks lifeless. Even if you throw him in November, it might be too late. Now, I've said I think the over-under is like this month, but every game that goes by is an opportunity wasted because even if you're losing games 24-10, if Dart has a couple JJ type moments or even Caleb type moments where he scrambles around, makes a sweet throw, people get off your back. People start supporting you, especially when it gets out because all the reports are Daboll and Dart are like this. I heard Jordan Renan say this, my guy that covers the New York Giants. When I was in Philly, he was covering the Eagles then. He's been on covering this team for a long time. And I saw on Instagram within the last week, he was doing like a radio hit or maybe his podcast. And he said, when you go to practice, there's Jameis and Russell, and they're usually throwing, doing stuff. And then there's Brian Daboll walking side by side, stride by stride with Jaxson Dart. Like he's his little puppy dog. And so you're tied to this guy. But the way these marriages become a divorce is you lose enough games, it just gets ugly and it gets convoluted. And all of a sudden it's like, well, I'm fired. It's like, well, that was my guy. Well, yeah, you only saw him play 10 games and your team was already so bad by then. So I would get him in way sooner than later. So when I see that he comes out and says that Russell Wilson's our starting quarterback, I think that's a bad move. And it's, oh, the opponents, the schedule. It's like, yeah, it's the NFL. It's hard. Whether you're on the road, whether you're away, whether you're playing the Jags or whether you're playing the Chiefs, all these games are hard. And any guy on the other team, they get paid a lot of money. They drive big ass cars and they live in big homes as well. So you're gonna have to. He's gonna have to play a tough opponent no matter what. He comes from the SEC. He wasn't playing at UC Davis. This guy's used to playing some tough defensive players. So I think he'll be okay. And last but not least, I actually had the audio. It's the one cool part about having 4 box games, even if you have 2 TVs and you got like 6 or 8 games going at one time, you keep track. Even though it is difficult, you can follow a lot, but you can only listen to one audio, right? You can't have all 8 going. You can't even have 2 going. So you basically have to pick one audio. And for most of, at least I would say 60-70% of the morning, I had on Kevin Burkhardt and Tom Brady. And I was pretty critical of Tom Brady last year, even though it's probably unfair given that it's the first time he's ever called games. But part of that is the expectation. You get paid $400 million. Our expectations were high, especially because your teammates are so famous. All I've ever heard for 20 years, like, this is the coolest dude ever. Everyone loves this guy. He can relate to the star player, to the owner, to the practice squad guy. I've never heard a bad thing said about him. I've never heard, and I've known countless guys that have played with Tom Brady, and everyone speaks about him. I'd say the same thing about Phillip Rivers. There are certain quarterbacks, Matt Stafford, Peyton Manning, you're just going to struggle to find anyone, whether they were a highly paid guy or like a fringe practice squad guy for a couple years ago that serviced them in practice, badmouth these guys because they're very relatable and good with people. That's what you have to be as a quarterback. Natural leader. Well, being a leader is like being able to resonate and deal with different guys. And in the NFL, you got guys from all over the country, all different backgrounds, and obviously all different economic statuses when they're in the NFL. Some guys are making not much relative to other guys making millions upon millions of dollars. And Tom was just, it was rough. I watched him. He felt a lot more comfortable. And obviously, where I went to school at Cal Poly, the motto is learn by doing. And while it is kind of cheesy, it does suit me. Some people can learn by just studying a textbook and go and take a test. I was a terrible standardized taker. I'm not great. Academia didn't serve me great because sitting me at a desk and showing me PowerPoints and then just having me regurgitate that, I check out 2 minutes in. But when I do something hands on, whatever that may be, it gives me a way better opportunity to learn. So I've been doing podcasts and I've been doing radio now for a decade. And the more you do anything, the more comfortable you get. Have never done national TV, but I went and did Colin this summer, and it wasn't intimidating. Why? Because I've been talking about this stuff with a mic or an ear, whatever, in the local level, national level. It just becomes easier the more you do it. And listen to Tom Brady. Like, is he Troy Aikman? No, Troy Aikman's been doing it for 25 years. But did he sound more comfortable in the booth? He did. And like hell, I was listening to JJ Watt, who sounded a little green. Now, in fairness, first game he's doing. Now, I struggle, like personally, what I like in my broadcaster, whenever a broadcaster says, it's going to be very hard for me to be critical. It's like, well, no one's expecting you to be like Stephen A or Skip Bayless. You don't just need to shit on everyone every play. But like, there's millions of people watching, and when something really stupid happens, you kind of got to embrace it. And listen, JJ's calling his brother's game, kind of a weird spot. But it was a very positive broadcast. I lean like I like my broadcast to let some zingers go. Aikman's a little more my style. Collinsworth is, he's just good at his job, pretty positive, upbeat guy. But there's different strokes for different folks. I do think whatever version of Brady that he was on Sunday and just can be moving forward, he's never going to be John Madden or John Gruden. I wouldn't call him like an entertainer, but he could just be a functional, obviously he's a really famous guy, knows his shit, knows all these guys, can just be solid. Because someone tweeted at me like, this is like Jason Garrett 2.0. No. Tom is way. Jason Garrett's the worst broadcaster, worst guy on television when it comes to NFL games. And when NBC comes up and you see his smile ear to ear and that redhead, you just want to throw something at the television. You're like, in what world did this NBC executive tell themselves that America wants to see this individual? I can't get over it, but they view Jason Garrett as a star, and he's terrible. And even Drew Brees, I saw he was saying that if he got the opportunity to call games, he'd be a top 3 guy. It's like, Drew, we heard you last year, a couple years ago. It wasn't great. We've heard enough guys. Not saying that you can't improve, you can't be better, but top 3 guy, like, no, pump the brakes there, buddy. This is entertainment. And that's the one thing Brady, can he ever, and it's probably hard because he doesn't want to throw in an F word or something, just kind of balance the football knower, the guy that knows coaches and the players are all texting him and he just knows his shit, to then also be like the guy's guy. And that's what, the Maddens, the Grudens, they were just great entertainers. And it's hard. It's why let's face it, most broadcasts, if you're just clicking around the audio on, and I'm not acting like it's easy. Like I respect the profession. People go, would you ever want? No, I have no desire to do it. One, it's not even fun to me. And I understand it is difficult, but it's why when guys are good, they really, really stand out because you can balance kind of like having fun, but knowing your stuff, or you just very comfortable in your own skin. Like Aikman's pretty serious, but he'll let it rip, and he's one of the few, and honestly might be the only guy that will be really, really critical of coaches and players. But for the most part, a player, like, you drop a ball, you drop a ball. What are you going to say? CeeDee Lamb, he dropped another ball. Okay, like, what do you want to do? Cut him? I mean, he's one of the best receivers in the league. Drop balls. It happens. Terrell Owens didn't have great hands. Not everyone's Marvin Harrison, right? Jerry Rice. Like, I mean, guys drop the ball. Fumbles, they happen. Now, you're going to cut him tomorrow? Well, if you're starting running back, you're probably not going to. So I think a lot of these guys, when they get into it, they feel like we don't want to be critical. Like, I think you guys watch probably too much internet and too much like first take clips. That's not what people expect. But when a coach does something stupid, you can blast the coach. And you should feel more room to blast the coach than the players. Because let's face it, a lot of the coaches, you're either coaching or allowing it to happen. Right? So it's like Caleb tonight. Was that on Caleb or was that on Ben Johnson? Those questions are only going to arise. And I'll promise you this: Ben Johnson's not going to like it. Adios.